Okay, so we're on to our last topic of the year in C#, graphics. And then obviously we finish with Kodu, which is a different way to do games, which is really fun too. Now, we're going to basically do the following ideas when we do graphics. We're going to today take a look at the basics of graphics. Then tomorrow, we'll take a look at how you're going to make things move across the screen or animate by using these things called timers and image arrays. Then we'll do pure animation. We'll talk about multimedia, how to put sound in a game or some sort of animation. And then you will work on your final major assignment of the year, which could be like a racing game. You could do a slot machine. I got a couple of different ideas that you're going to be working on. Okay, so computer graphics in C#. I just want to show you basically some of the stuff you can do. You can draw words on the screen, draw images, lines, you can put pictures on the screen. There's all kinds of different things. Okay, now what we're going to do is work through this together. That's the only way you can learn this graphics. You can't just watch my examples and that's it. So I'm going to type along with you. So I'm making a new project and it's called Windows Graphics. Alright, and we just got a form there. I'll make it a little bit bigger because I want to have a lot of room to do my stuff. Now here's the first weird thing. We're not going to have like a button today to say do something. It's just like as soon as we run the program, it's going to show up. And a lot of games you're going to do, that's basically what's going to happen. It's just going to show up and just start going. Now, how do you get the computer to do that? Well, there's a paint event. And you know sometimes when you double click like this and it goes into form load? Well, there's other things that are associated with form. And one of the ones that we're going to use is called paint. So watch. Instead of double clicking, I'm going to press once on the form and then I'm going to go over here to where the lightning bolt is. And I'm going to go to the thing that says paint on it. There it is right there, and I'm going to double click. Every second, microsecond, the computer repaints the screen. And when it does it, it goes to this routine. And you don't even realize it, but it does it all the time. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some stuff in there, because most of the time we've never put anything in there, so it doesn't actually draw anything unless you tell it. Okay? Now, when you draw on the screen, you have to use a special class, it's called, a special set of commands, which is called the graphics class. And then you have to give it a name, and we're going to call it G, and then you say e.graphics, okay? Very kind of weird command, I know, and the E is from there, but don't worry about it. Just that's what you need to kickstart pure graphics. Okay. Other things we got to do, if you're going to draw words on the screen, and you heard me say it, draw words. It's kind of weird to say it that way. You have to say this command, font, and then you can use any variable you want. I'll just use the same name, but spell it with a smaller letter, and then font again, and then you make up. You know how you have like Times Roman and Arial. You give it a font, and then the second thing is the size of the font, so I'm using kind of a big letter there. Next thing you need, and this is all kind of weird stuff, if you're going to draw words in the screen, the next thing you have to do is use like a brush or something, and they call it a solid brush. Okay, and you notice how it turns blue, and then this part you just make up any word you want. And again you go new, and then you repeat the word solid, brush, and then bracket. Now watch, it's looking for a color. This is kind of cool. You have to type in the color like that. That's kind of like the American spelling. Then you press dot, and then you make up whatever you want. I'm going to pick aquamarine, and then you press semicolon. And I think we're ready to finally put something on the screen. Now I told you up here, this is the thing that makes all the graphics work, and I called it G. So to make something show up on this screen called G, I'm going to go G dot, and then there's all kinds of commands. Well, the first thing I'm doing with you guys is I'm drawing a word, so it's called drawString. And then it's asking for a string, so I'm just going to say hello, comma. Now it's asking for the font, so my font is called font in small letters. Then it's asking for the brush, and then you got to put it somewhere on the screen. Okay, and I'm just going to put it at 40 pixels over and 40 pixels down. Okay, now everything you do in computer graphics is from the top left corner. So when you say 40/40, you're actually going to go over 40 pixels and then down 40 pixels. Let's see if this actually does something. Let's press run. There it is. Hello. Okay, it's about 40 over and 40 down, and the top of the H is at 40/40 pixels. Okay, so that's how you draw words on the screen. Now, you want to draw other stuff. You want to draw like boxes and filled in circles and stuff like that. Okay, so the next thing you do to draw, like, let's do a line first actually. We're going to need a pen. So there's a command called pen, and I'm going to use it, and then you say equals new pen, and then bracket. The pen, again, is looking for like a color to do it in. Now watch, I'm going to press down. See, it has a brush here, and this one here has color and the width. That's what I'm going to use. So it's looking for a color. I'm going to color in red, dot red, comma, and this is how thick my pen is going to be when I draw whatever I'm going to draw. Okay, so that's what you need when you have to draw a line and like a box and stuff like that, or a rectangle. All right, now here's how you draw a line. First of all, you say G dot, draw line, there it is, bracket. Now it's saying, well, what are you going to color it in? So I'm going to color it in using the pen. All right, so that's the pen color. And now you got to remember some sort of like graphing math. So you got to make up some numbers. So 60, comma, so that means I'm going to go over 60 and go down 200. And that's going to be the first spot where my line's going to start. And now I'm going to go over 300 and down 200. Okay? And if you're not good at math, let me just run it, and you'll see sort of with a diagram what I've done. I've done a straight line. All right, look at that. Okay, because notice, I went 60 over, so 60 over and 200 down brings me right there. So that's my first point. Then I went 300 over and 60 down, or 200 down. So you notice the second numbers are always the same, so it drew a straight line. Well, what if you would have wanted to draw something else, like a crooked line or some other line? You could do that. Here's another one. G dot, draw line, pen, comma, 0, 0. That's the very top left corner. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it down to pretty close to the bottom corner. Now, I don't know what the bottom corner is. Is it a number? Well, when you don't know, because everybody is going to do their forms a different size, I guess what you're going to have to do is use a special word. Now, here's my first guess at it. I'm going to go over as wide as the screen. So there's this word called this dot width, and I'm going to go as far down as the whole height of the screen. That's not a bad guess. Let's see if that actually works. Oh, look at that. Okay, pretty close. See how it goes from the top left corner, 0, 0, almost down to that? It's a little bit off. Like you'd think these words, this width and height, are the correct words, but they actually aren't. I'm going to rub them out for a second, and there's some special words you got to use, okay, to be dead on. And it's kind of funny. You wouldn't know these, off by heart. So there's this thing called client rectangle dot width and client rectangle dot height, and this is going to be dead on. There it is. See how it goes from the very top left to the very bottom. So you could make like an X and O's game. You could make anything you want, and it would draw those lines. Okay, so that's called the draw line command. You can do other stuff. Let's change our pen though. I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to go pen equals new pen, and this time I'm going to pick like blue or something, and I'm going to make it 2, which is the thickness of the pen. Let's do a rectangle. Okay, so G dot draw. Let's see, is there a rectangle? Yeah, there it is right there. Draw rectangle, and then you got to go bracket and pen. Oh, but you know what? Let's call this new pen, because I already got something called pen, right? So I'm going to call it new pen. And then what it's going to do is it's going to ask me, where do you want to start your rectangle? Let's start this rectangle 300 over and 300 down. But the next parts are not like where the other corner of the rectangle is. The next parts are, and you can see it right here, the width and the height. So my rectangle is going to be 50 wide and 50 high. And then I'm going to run it. Hey, there it is. There's my rectangle right down there. Okay, so you're starting to see how you do the various kinds of graphics. Now let's start filling in some of this stuff. Like we can fill in maybe a rectangle instead of having it like empty like that. Now to fill it in, back to the brush. Okay, so you got to use that, that solid brush stuff we did before. So I'll call it solid brush again. But we're going to have to use something else, right? So solid brush, new brush, and we'll say equals new solid brush, and then bracket. And it doesn't really matter what you use here, but let's use purple, just something different. I think there's a purple, is there? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so we're going to fill in this time with purple. Now, it's fill in this time, right? So you got to go G dot. Is there a draw fill or fill something, like something with the word? Yeah, there it is. Fill. And what are we looking for? Rectangle, I see it. And then bracket. Okay, there's your brush again, but this time it's new brush, comma, and we'll do a rectangle again, but this time let's do it about 120 over, 120 down, and we'll make it 60, let's make it even wider. Let's make it 100 wide and only 20 high. Let's see how weird that looks. Let's see what we get. Yeah, there it is. There's your rectangle. Okay, there's your rectangle, and the screen went funny there. There's your rectangle, and it's a skinny purple line. All right, we'll run that again so you can see it better. There it is, a little bit better. Okay. Last thing is you can do circles. All right, you can do circles. Now circles, they don't actually have a command called circle. Circles, they call them ellipses. And most of you guys are only in grade 10, but when you get to like grade 11 or 12, you learn how to draw an ellipse. It looks like a football, but if you squish it hard enough from the sides, it becomes a circle. So watch this. G dot fill ellipse. There it is. Okay, bracket, and we'll use new brush again, comma, and it needs where to start. I'm going to start it at about 300 over, 120 down, and if it's a circle, the width and height have to match. So I'm going to go 40, 40. Okay, so there's this new thing. It's going to make a circle, and there it is. Okay, fairly perfect circle. It's purplish color. All right, now the last parts I'm going to go back to my program and load them up. Now you can load pictures too, and that's eventually how we're going to use them to do games, because we're not going to draw them just like this. I mean, you could use this to draw some basic shapes, but if you want to do something serious, you're going to go on the internet, get a picture of something, maybe draw it yourself with a paint program, and then have the computer load it in and put it right on the screen. So that's what I want to show you to finish up. Okay, we're back to this program I started off my lesson with today, and I'm going to run it again. And this is just a little demo, like you can draw boxes, circles, words. We've done all that today with you. But look at this corner up here. It's got the picture of our school in that corner. Now, how did I do that? So I want to show you. So I'll go into this code here and go all the way down to the very bottom. And these commands you sort of have seen before. When we did the stuff with the data files where we told the computer, go to my hard drive and go inside my bin folder, debug, and get this picture out, what you were doing was loading in the same stuff I'm doing right here. You're doing this thing called a startup path, and in there you have a picture, and that's where you're going to store all your pictures when you do your games too. You're going to put them in the debug folder. Now, that just tells the computer where your stuff is, but how do you get it from there and put it on the screen? Well, what you do is this command right here. And remember, the stuff on the right always goes into the stuff on the left. So you're telling the computer, image from a file, this file right here, which I called F. So it's going to load in this picture, SJB Spring JPEG, and it's going to put it into an image. You know how you have integer and string and stuff? You can have an image. All right. Now it's in the computer's picture brain, so to speak, and then we do G dot draw image, brand new one. We've had draw line and all that kind of stuff. Now there's draw image. The first thing is the image, and this is where you want to put it, and this is how big you want to put it. So watch, I'm going to change this. It's going to get really stupid, but you'll see what I mean by these two numbers. Watch when I run this. See how the picture became bigger? Okay, so these numbers stretch the picture out to the size that you want. Okay, so that's a quick introduction to some of the mechanics of how things are done in pure graphics.